Doctors of Reddit, what are some of the strangest, most outrageous reactions that you've gotten from telling a woman that she is pregnant? Nurse here had a fat lady trying to beat the shit out of one of my docs, a small and frail old guy, for telling her she is a slut. He didn't, he just told her that she is pregnant. Same doc later on told a patient she is pregnant. She replied, but I did never had real sex. He goes to the window and starts looking outside. Asked what he is doing, he replies, the last time this happened a new star lit up the sky over Bethlehem. Not a doc, but I'm a nurse scribe who asked a similar question last week. I asked, how do you break the news to a 16-year-old girl like that? And he said, come with and find out. We go in, and it's the 16-year-old girl with her grandma there. First thing he says is, well, your results are back. Do you mind if your family is here when we talk about them? Pro tip, always say yes I mind to this question. Then he told her, and she immediately started crying. The look her grandma gave her said 1,000 words, all of which were whore. Not 5 minutes later, her mom came in yelling slut, whore, fucking cunt and pretty much anything you can imagine. She had to be escorted out by security. All in all, it was a fairly interesting way to witness my first unwanted pregnancy reveal. My grandmother worked for the medical clinic at her local army base during WI, and she sometimes got to deliver the news that a woman, usually the wife of a soldier, was pregnant. She told one young woman, who replied, but that's impossible. My husband has been overseas for more than a year. My grandmother assured her that she was definitely pregnant and asked if she had had sexual relations with anyone else recently. The woman replied, well, yes. But you can't get pregnant with nobody but your husband. The poor girl actually had no idea. Woo. I have a story that is relevant. So my mom nearly died while giving birth to her first child. The doctors were so worried about her health they told my parents that they wouldn't be able to have any more children for the foreseeable future. 5 years later, the doctors give them the go ahead to have another kid. Things didn't go perfectly with the second birth, and she had to get her tubes tied. There were other medical problems as well. A little more than 2 years pass, and they are happy with their little family, but my mother is feeling ill again. It remains for a while. They thought it was a bad cold, but then she starts craving ice. She only craved ice while preggers. She grows in the belly region, and is pretty sure she is pregnant, but this is impossible, because her tubes are tied, right? She goes to the doctor, the one who performed the surgery, and tells him that she believes she is pregnant. He disagrees entirely. He just will not believe she is pregnant. He performs all sorts of tests trying to figure out what it is, but my mother is insistent. She believes she is pregnant. So finally the doctor says, fine, I'll give you a pregnancy test, but when it come back negative you have to pay for it. If it comes up positive I'll pay for it. It fucking comes back positive. The doctor walks in the room and mutters, well, you're 7 months along. My mother responded with a classy, I know. Apparently when you get your tubes tied every year after the first one adds a 1% chance of becoming pregnant. There was a 2% of me existing. TL. Doctor bet my mom that I didn't exist. In medical school I admitted a 8-month pregnant lady who didn't know she was pregnant. She simply wouldn't accept that she was, and was in denial to a seriously strange way. I was on my psychiatry rotation, so she was admitted to obstetrics for observation, but with our team following. She thought we were performing unnecessary surgery on her when we did the ultrasound. She didn't believe she was delivering while she was. Complete denial and delusional thought, paranoia. After she gave birth, she refused to accept she had a child, and the ministry had to adopt. It was a very distressing case. To my knowledge she has never accepted the pregnancy. I went with my friend once to the because she was having issues. I offered to step out of the room when the doctor came back in, but was told to sit tight. Okay, fine, whatever. Doctor tells her she is pregnant after she denies even having sex, ever. She says, that's impossible. My boyfriend and I only did it once, and he pulled out. Doctor had to explain to her how that's not safe at all, while I sat in the chair with my face in my palms. My wife was 3 days late on her period. I was the one to notice this, not her. So I purchased her a pregnancy test and she took it. I remember we were standing in the hallway of our first apartment together and she was watching the results on the test. I placed my hands on her shoulders, looked into her eyes, and told her, "You are pregnant. It is twins. Fraternal twins, a boy and a girl, and the girl will come out first." She told me if I knocked her up with twins she would knock my head off. By the time I finished speaking, a faint line appeared showing positive for pregnant. A few weeks later she was feeling sick, so we went to the ER. Her pregnancy was confirmed, and they did an ultrasound. In a thick Caribbean accent, the ultrasound tech told her it's tweens. Look, see, tweens. She did not understand him at first. I did. I thought about running. I didn't. 2 months later it was confirmed that they were fraternal. 2 months after that, it was confirmed that baby A was a girl and baby B was a boy. They came 6 weeks early. It was a tough pregnancy that ended with an emergency C-section. The doctor pulled my daughter out first, and then my son. TL. Doctor, I predicted the test result, amount, genders, type, and order of birth before I even had confirmation my wife was pregnant. TL. DR2, I would be a rich man right now if pregnancy betting were a real thing. Ed nurse here. Lady comes in saying she's pregnant, but she has vaginal bleeding. Pregnancy test comes back negative. Doc asks her why she thought she was pregnant. She says, "I was having cravings for chocolate ice cream, and the last time that happened was when I was pregnant. Not exactly what you asked for, but thought I'd share just the same." I had gone to the doctor for a urinary tract infection a few years back. Told the male nurse that that's what I imagined it was. Had to take a pregnancy test due to procedure. Hadn't had sex in months so wasn't really worried. The nurse comes back, and I imagine that he may have picked up on my demeanor and sense of humor, because his first words were, "Well, the good news is that you don't have a UT, but you are pregnant." I'm sure I turned ghost white, even thought I knew it wasn't possible. After about 30 seconds of me thinking about things, he finally said, "I'm kidding. You actually know your body very well, do in fact have a UT, and are not pregnant." I laughed and wasn't mad, had a sigh of relief, even though it still couldn't be possible that I was pregnant. It's just one of those things that someone could tell you, and you'll just go along with, because they are in a certain position that you are not. Still laugh about it to this day, and no, still not nor want to be pregnant, lol. I got a pregnancy test once, and I was bawling my eyes out because I was so nervous about being knocked up. During the blood test the nurse goes, "So, are you gonna keep it if you're pregnant?" with a big smile on his face. I just cried some more. Good news though, was not pregnant. Phew. I hope this thread develops. It's interesting already. To make this not such a waste of comment, I'll reference one of the best ways I've heard of a parent finding out the daughter was preggo. Target sends people coupons based on their purchases with their Target card. A father filed a complaint with his local store for coupons that were sent to his young daughter for prenatal vitamins, lotions, etc. It turned out she was pregnant, but she was hiding it from daddy. Target knew before he did, based on her purchases. The dad withdrew the complaint, but it raised issues with personalized marketing. Not a doctor. Still, I thought my story was pretty interesting. I called one of the only agents that my insurance covered. They said they could not see me for like 2 months. I asked if they could call in a prescription for my birth control pills while I wait for my appointment. The lady refused and said that because they haven't seen me in 6 months, I think it was 6 months, they could not do that. I sort of pitched a fit, but to no avail. The day before my appointment, I took an at-home pregnancy test, and it came up positive. So the next day, walking into the office, I pretty much knew I was knocked up. I got into the exam room and the doctor came in. She told me, "So you made an appointment for an exam to get birth control pills?" I said, "Yep. Been waiting 2 months." She answered with, "I'm sorry, we always get so backed up. I know it takes forever sometimes to get one." I said, "Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant now, so can we test for that instead?" The doctor got this weird look on her face, asked for a urine sample. She came back 10 minimum later looking sheepish and saying, "Yep, you're pregnant." For the record, I do not blame getting pregnant on the doctor. That was my stupid move. Still, I thought the dialogue I had with the doctor was really funny. Volunteer in the I had the privilege of seeing a very obese woman admitted with severe vaginal discharge and pain. Turns out, she was in labor and never knew she was pregnant. She insisted that she just hasn't had her period for 9 months because of some thyroid condition. It boggles my mind that she didn't know. What did she say upon being informed she was pregnant? No way in hell. Followed 7 hours later with, her name is Michelle**************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** room for an emergency, and as I was waiting for nurse to come into my room, there were other women in the rooms around me. They asked for a urine sample because they have to check for pregnancy prior to surgery. The nurse just walked and looked at me and said, "Is this the pregnant one?" I sat there having a silent panic attack. I couldn't move or speak, and my mind was screaming no no no. Nurse looks at the chart again and goes, "Wrong room," and leaves. No apologies. Not a doctor, but this question reminded me of a pet peeve of mine. Sorry for the rant. I'm female, and I'm sick of having every little cold or disease suddenly being a factor that you're pregnant. I traveled on a plane, and a few days later got sick from travel stress and everything. My dad's first reply, "Are you pregnant?" Yes, just completely ignore the fact that I didn't get home until 4 AM, flying in 2 different planes, stressed and upset and in a cesspool with everybody else's diseases for multiple hours. Couldn't possibly be that. Still not pregnant. If a female in your life is sick, please don't automatically assume pregnancy. Get sold fast. Had to cancel a woman in pre-op because her preg test came back positive. I told her I have good news and bad news. The bad news is, we can't do your surgery today. The good news is, you're pregnant. Her response was, "Doc, neither of those is good news." One Christmas, when I was 19, my now Mill got it in her head that I was knocked up. I had recently gone up a few cup sizes, but was not preggo. She would not shut up about it and kept pulling me aside and telling me she would raise the baby. I was about ready to hit her. I was so humiliated. This was Christmas too, and it totally ruined the night. My mom was so pissed when I told her. Not a doctor, but a few years ago one told me I was pregnant. At the time I just finished crying about something that doesn't seem all that important anymore, and I was also in pain and feeling pretty miserable. She left, came back, sat down in a chair and said, very seriously, "Mary Poppycock, you're pregnant." Day made. Ha 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 ha, I replied, for I'm a teenage virgin who has never seen a penis IRL. I laughed way harder than the situation called for, but I was pretty damn stressed at the time and gave a total of 0 fucks. They probably thought I was crazy or a liar. I asked them to run another test. They called to say negative. A week later I then practically skipped out of the office and called to tell my mom I was pregnant, laughing all the while. Needless to say, she was not amused. TL. Drive. I started calling myself the Virgin Mary. 3 years and counting, and my Jesus spawn is yet to show its golden crown. Not a doctor, but my cousin got pregnant, and she was 14 and everyone was very unhappy. So we are sitting at the family table and my aunt is like, "How did you get pregnant?" And she said, "I don't know," to which I responded, "I know how," to which her boyfriend in a smart ass tone responded, "You don't know," to which I said, "Yay, I do. You fucked her and didn't put on a rubber," to which he tried to deny it. So I said, "Fine then. She fucked you." Apparently stating the obvious was not the best decision. Not a doctor, but I have a pregnancy story from a pharmacy assistant colleague. My friend, we will call her R, was working the register in her first week of work when a young lady comes in and asks how much emergency contraception costs, i.e. the morning after pill. R tells her it is about $25. Later the same young lady comes up to the register with a pregnancy test. R asks her if she wanted the emergency pill and explains that the test is not the same thing. Girl responds, "I know, but I only have $10. Did not compute." Friend of mine started having terrible cramps one night and ended up going to see a doctor in the morning with a friend she was supposed to go out for breakfast with. Nurse checks her, makes her take a test just in case, even if she'd never skipped a period. She was mortified when told she was pregnant. The nurse asked her what she wanted to do. She replied that she'd have to talk with her boyfriend. Nurse went to get a doctor because the cramps were still not normal. He comes in, checks her briefly, looks nervous, leaves without a word. While my friend is freaking out a bit, he comes back with 2 paramedics. She's in labor. She gave birth to a beautiful healthy boy later that day. She had just come back from working 4 months in France, eating often in restaurants, so she didn't really worried about having put on a few pounds. She regularly takes pregnancy tests now. Not a doctor, but my grandmother was pregnant with her 6th child, but the baby died, and they had to do an operation to take it out. A few weeks later my gran, just getting over the death of her unborn baby, told my granddad and doctors that she thought she was still pregnant. They kept telling her that she wasn't, and it was just her being upset over losing a baby. Well, as they had operated on taking out the baby, they wouldn't look, and just told her to mourn and accept the baby was gone. Speed forward to a month later when her water breaks and they operate on her again to find that she had been expecting twins and no one knew, so when the first one died they didn't realize there was another one hidden. Everyone, especially my granddad, apologized for not believing her. TL. Doctor, my nan was pregnant with twins, but the only one they knew about died, and out popped my uncle a month later to the surprise of everyone other than my nan.